I was 15 when I first came out to one of my siblings, and then I was 16 when supposing the rest of my family found out. I suppose I should mention, when it comes to values, my family is very conservative Catholic. There was sort of like an intervention at my house where two of my siblings flew in and to St. John, and the intervention was kind of centered around the topic of Victor is gay, how do we fix it? I feel like I knew who I was. I feel like I knew that a lot of it wasn't true, but when you're a kid and you want your family's approval, and you are desperate for that kind of acceptance, you'll do anything. So, I mean, I played along. I agreed to undergo like a type of conversion therapy that was aimed at fixing me. It was actually called reparative therapy, coined by Mr. Joseph Nicolosi. I suppose it was my siblings and my parents together calling whichever ministry they called to set up a connection with somebody who practices reparative therapy. And then I started the summer after I turned 17, so it would have been that same year. I just finished grade 11. Sorry, essentially the theory behind this type of conversion therapy or reparative therapy is that there was some sort of trauma in childhood that is typically described as a perceived rejection from men and a perceived acceptance from women. They were once every 2 weeks on a Wednesday.
On Wednesday.
After school, typically. I had a lot of sleeping problems. Like the anxiety that it caused me was pretty crippling, and I just couldn't sleep. I struggled a lot with depression, anxiety, insomnia, a lot of self-esteem issues, as well as ultimately suicidality. After finishing full IB at St. John High, I got a scholarship to go to U of T in Toronto to study life sciences. And so I started St. Michael's College in 2013. And I was still doing the conversion therapy, but it was just proving to be too much. And it culminated into a suicide attempt in October of 2013. You're convinced that when you're convinced that there's something intrinsically wrong with you, that you can't change, and that that's just a part of you, you know, that's no way wrong, but when you're told that, that bleeds into every aspect of your life. So for me, this consistent denial of who I am, on top of being told that this part of who I am is in some way wrong or defective, that has like manifestly deleterious effects on every aspect of your life. So I couldn't see hope anymore. I just thought that it would be best if I left. I had the attempt, and then I dropped out of school, and I lost my scholarship, and I moved back home to St. John. And it would have been the beginning of November 2013. I feel like they did have a negative reaction to me not wanting to do conversion therapy anymore. But I was very adamant, and I put my foot down. When I speak about how my family reacted, I understand that it was done out of a place of love, based on what my family feels is true. The reason why I agreed to this interview was because a lot of people don't know that conversion therapy still happens in general, and that conversion therapy happens in Canada. And as somebody who's passionate about health policy and wants to pursue that later on, I fully believe that it's important to engage people who have undergone an experience in order to, create legislation around that experience. So now, with the recent protections being promised for LGBTQ people regarding protection from conversion therapy in Canada, I feel compelled to share my story in order to better inform that policy and to inform the public.